Imagine chefs frying steaks on scorching hot lava or crafting crunchy rolls right on the bucket of a bulldozer. Today, you will witness astonishing spectacles, noodles dancing in mid-air, dragon's beard candies that simply melt in your mouth, and even anime pancakes drawn directly on the griddle. You are tuned into Topfacts. Enjoy the show. Some chefs are so confident and swift at chopping and slicing that it appears the blade zooms perilously close to their fingertips. Blink just once, and you might miss a risky moment. Yet for seasoned pros, it is all within the bounds of their years of experience. Their hands are practiced, their movements precise, and every time the outcome wows anyone who sees flawlessly sliced pieces emerge from under the knife. In a world where chefs' imaginations have no limits, new techniques have appeared that manipulate ingredients at the chemical level. Spherical capsules, foams made from the most unexpected products, flash freezing at extreme cold. These are just part of the molecular cuisine toolkit. The result can be utterly extraordinary dishes in which familiar ingredients change their texture, and a single bite can amaze you as much as a piece of modern art might. Picture a skilled artisan working with unflappable composure and precision, wielding a special cutter for slicing noodles. Total concentration. He takes sheets of rolled dough and, almost like a jeweler, turns them into neat, springy strands. Each movement is unhurried and deliberate, evoking a sense of ritual that leaves no space for error. The onlookers hold their breath as they watch these smooth, nearly spellbinding gestures. And the moment you witness those sheets of dough becoming rows of uniform noodles, you begin to truly value the traditional craft of noodle making, attained through meticulous work and accuracy. A real marvel in some districts of Bangladesh and Southeast Asia is the technique of frying foods in heated sand. Onto the scorching hot sand, vendors might toss peanuts or dry chip mixes and stir them for just a few minutes with a special spatula. The items become crisp in no time, and the most surprising thing is that no grains of sand remain on them. Children and adults alike often crowd around these stands, finding the process exotic and the crunchy payoff irresistible. In one bustling market, a deft vendor creates a sugar-spun masterpiece. Layer by layer, he wraps colorful cotton candy into something resembling a flower. Each layer is placed swiftly and precisely, and the petals seem to unfold before your eyes. The result is a stunningly beautiful sweet decoration, almost too pretty to devour, but curiosity and the sweet aroma always win, beckoning you to taste its airy softness. In one packed marketplace, there is a gigantic container of vivid yellow concoction bubbling away, instantly drawing attention. Two cooks skillfully maneuvering long wooden stirrers transform a mix of spices and ingredients into something astounding. From a distance, people see them adding nuts, herbs, more seasonings, all while keeping an eye on the texture so everything roasts evenly and soaks in flavor. When the dish finally gets ladled into bowls, the crowd eagerly moves in for a sample of this piping hot exotic treat. One wonders what other wild surprises street markets around the globe might be hiding. In China, you may encounter peculiar confections dubbed dragon's beard. The chef patiently stretches and folds a warm sugar mixture until it becomes sheer threads that look like silken fibers. These pale hairs then get wrapped around chopped nuts, sesame seeds, or coconut. The end product is a crisp, sweet candy that dissolves in your mouth. Imagine thousands of gossamer sugar strands uniting in a tiny bundle of bliss. In certain Chinese villages, you might see rows of outstretched noodles swaying in the open air, almost like ribbons. These are not the standard store-bought type, but handmade noodles, pulled with great expertise from resilient dough. They are hung outside in the sun and breeze until fully dry. Ultimately, they become an ingredient for soups or stir-fries. Gazing at these rows of fluttering noodles, you feel as if you have stepped into a serene countryside painting. In restaurants that use a large hot plate right in front of patrons, the chefs often amaze not only with taste, but also with a dazzling show. They can do tricks with an egg, one confident motion, and the egg is airborne, gracefully spinning. Only then do they crack it and combine it with other components to create mouth-watering fried rice. These feats, greeted by cries of delight from guests, make any meal unforgettable. Here, the chef's skill is not about endlessly stirring cooked pasta, but rather flipping it just a handful of times with finesse. The secret lies in matching dexterous hand movements with knowing the exact feel of the noodles. Minimal mixing ensures the noodles remain firm and intact, yet the sauces spread evenly. You watch and wish you could pick up this tip so your own dishes at home turn out equally perfect. Strolling along Bangkok's lively streets, you may spot a cook who takes an entire duck and flattens it with such skill that it resembles a guitar. Then it is fried until the skin turns crispy while the meat stays tender and full of flavor. A crowd gathers entranced by the sight of this duck guitar, which unavoidably draws the eye. A sharp knife carves it into portions, and in that instant hungry folks line up, itching to sample this unfamiliar yet enticing dish. Some culinary performers can toss and flip ingredients so deftly that they look like circus performers. They elegantly handle sizzling oil, spices, and vegetables, making the items practically float in the air. Yet everything falls neatly back into the pan. In mere seconds, the meal is ready, and spectators enthusiastically applaud, feeling as though they have witnessed a captivating culinary exhibition. Why not turn grilling kebabs into a spectacle? These inventive chefs secure chunks of meat on a makeshift Ferris wheel that rotates slowly above the coals. As it completes each rotation, the meat cooks evenly while onlookers, smiling at the playful scene, already anticipate the savory feast. The result is not merely a meal, but a full-fledged show that captivates everyone, watching the meat circle tirelessly while appetizingly sizzling above the flames. It might sound unbelievable, but some people have ventured to sear a steak on actual lava. Granted, the lava is artificially produced in a lab or specialized furnace instead of flowing from a volcano, but the heat is truly extreme, enough to blacken meat in mere seconds. Admittedly, not everyone would find such a novelty appealing. Those who prefer gentler cooking might think it is over the top. Nevertheless, the spectacle is impressive, like a miniature disaster unfolding on a plate, but definitely unforgettable. At the chain restaurant Haidilao, visiting becomes a veritable show when the chefs stretch out a lengthy rope of noodles before the diners. They practically dance with this dough, twirling and tossing it high. It is akin to watching a fusion of kung fu and contemporary dance. By the end, the moving noodle ribbon is dipped into a bubbling hot broth, emerging as a hearty dish with an unmistakable Chinese flair. Japan is famed for mochi, a delicacy made from glutinous rice. The rice is steamed, then vigorously pounded and kneaded until it becomes a pliable paste. In traditional practices, one person wields a hefty wooden mallet while another flips the rice in the nick of time, dodging the blow. It looks like an intricately choreographed dance, especially popular during New Year festivities. In Uzbekistan, making bread in a tandoor can feel almost extreme. Bakers lean right into the blazing clay oven and swiftly press rounds of dough against its wall. Being able to hold your arms there in such intense heat is no easy feat. Yet the payoff is tremendous. A traditional flatbread that is soft inside, crisp and golden outside, with a subtle hint of smokiness. Locals relish watching this ritual, as tandoor bread is the essence of their cuisine. An ingenious device can peel off the tough pineapple rind and core in the blink of an eye. It is mesmerizing to see how the spiny skin vanishes in a moment, leaving a smooth, juicy cylinder behind. This gadget saves heaps of time in busy spots like markets or juice stands, where people line up non-stop for fresh treats. After making seasoned ground meat, press small portions along the edge of a plate to form neat balls. Line them up, then swipe them all into boiling water or broth in one single motion. It is surprising how much time this shaves off, and the end result is uniform and tidy. In Afghanistan, there is a special street technique for baking roti on an inverted metal dome perched over an open flame. By pressing the dough onto the curved metal, the outside crisps up while the inside remains soft and fluffy. The taste gains a subtle smoky accent and the crust turns golden and crunchy. This tradition proves that seemingly simple approaches can yield tantalizingly aromatic breads. On a street in China, a jovial vendor amuses a bunch of kids with a quirky demonstration. He tosses a disc of dough so it arcs through the air and almost boomerangs right back. The youngsters squeal with excitement, trying not to miss its flight, then watch as the circle of dough hits the pan and transforms into a fragrant street delicacy. For novices, the trickiest part of homemade dumplings is forming them so they look perfect. But a Chinese chef can pinch and twist the dough in one move, creating a neat ring with the tasty filling inside. Put the filling in, pinch, add a slight twist, and voila! A graceful little dumpling is all set. In the heart of a bustling Chinese district, you may see a cook who entertains passers-by by literally dancing with a handful of raw noodles. He flings them into the air, then breaks into a mini-jig while the noodles cook in boiling water. Every motion seems choreographed, and the crowd joyfully watches as a fresh, flavorful dish comes to life. By the time his dance ends, the noodles are ready, piping hot, aromatic, and radiating that hallmark street flavor. Certain wizards of the kitchen manage to make flatbreads without having them touch any surface except the spatula. Holding the dough above the flames, they flip it a few times until it puffs up and turns brown. Just a couple of moves and done. Observing this, it is hard to believe the bread does not topple into the fire. Sometimes you want to share something online so spectacular that it pulls in thousands of likes. Chefs who can toss rice or other foods in a pan like an artist wields a brush supply precisely that golden shot. It seems the rice defies gravity, hovering in mid-air for an instant before dropping neatly back into the pan. Such a feat is sure to make a striking thumbnail for a video or post. If you ever end up in Shinjuku and adore traditional Japanese sweets, then Takashimaya Times Square is a genuine paradise. There, for instance, you can try miniature anko spheres, glimmering like tiny pearls of sweet red bean paste that melt in your mouth at once, or a dessert that mingles soft rice dumplings, fresh fruit, whipped cream, and sweet bean paste into a refreshingly delightful harmony. If crunch is more your style, you may enjoy a thick peanut senbei that merges sweetness with a subtle salty tang of peanuts. Before your eyes are people who can toss ingredients with such grace that the food seems to leap back into the wok on its own. Flames leap up around the edges, seasonings spiral in the air, yet everything ends precisely in place. In watching this, you realize cooking can be magical, a combination of a chef's brilliance and the thrill of an audience. Now and then you run into someone who once hoped to become a musician, but now cooks while preserving that passion for rhythm. He sings a bit or taps out beats with his knife on the cutting board and the entire scene comes alive, relaxed, and uplifted. Customers waiting for their meals might bob along to the beat, soaking up the positive vibe. Alongside a tasty dish, they get a performance that is sure to stay in mind. There is a dessert that expands to multiple times its size right in front of you during frying. It starts as a small dough ball stuffed with sweet bean paste and rolled in sesame seeds. Once it goes into hot oil, it gradually puffs up until it is almost the size of a little melon. It can be astonishing to see a very young cook handling a hefty wok as if it weighs next to nothing. He maneuvers it like a pro, using a long spatula to juggle ingredients so they soar into the air. Everything cooks promptly and evenly, producing wonderful flavor. His sure-handed actions prove that age is not necessarily a measure of expertise. Enthusiasm for the craft can spark amazing results much earlier than people might think. At Bangkok's renowned Chatuchak Market, vendors attract crowds with their well-known Thai milk tea. They pour the brewed tea from one container to another at a fair distance, creating froth while cooling the beverage. Then they mix in condensed milk and pour the concoction over ice. That bright orange hue, gentle flavor, and the visual spectacle all combine to make this drink a big hit under the blazing sun. In some crepe shops, you might witness a kind of magic show in which an artist drizzles winding lines of batter on the griddle, flips them, and presto, a vivid anime character appears. Each hue is a separate layer, meticulously planned by the chef artist. When the image takes form, visitors gasp in astonishment. It is not merely a crepe, but a bona fide work of art, almost too stunning to eat. Lumpia, those iconic crispy spring rolls, require first preparing a thin batter from flour, water, and a pinch of salt. A dab of this batter hits a warmed pan, forming a see-through crepe. You must deftly remove it at the right moment so it does not get too dry. These wrappers are soft and flexible, yet sturdy enough to hold a juicy mixture of meat, vegetables, or even shrimp. The finished rolls are that irresistible treat you love to bite into with a satisfying crunch. Now and then, on a construction site, workers might repurpose a blazing hot bulldozer bucket as an improvised stove, frying up veggies or eggs. Of course, there are hygiene questions. But the sight is undeniably striking. If the bosses are cool with it, it becomes the most memorable lunch break ever. After all, who else can brag about frying lunch on construction equipment? In China, early in the day, lines often form in front of small street stalls that make jumbing. A thin batter is spread on a hot surface, an egg is cracked over it, green onions are sprinkled on top, and tangy sauces are drizzled over that. Then a crunchy element, like a dough fritter or crispy sheet, is placed on top, and the whole thing is folded into a snug roll. Just like that, you have a crispy, juicy, spicy, and wonderfully fragrant street treat that hits the spot for anyone dashing by, craving something truly tasty. Who says kids dislike veggies? They become eager to eat them when a cook puts on a show. The rhythmic clack of a knife, a bit of spatula dancing, and youngsters themselves reach for foods they may have rejected moments before. It is amusing to watch them pop open their mouths, happily consuming carrots or broccoli, not a single complaint offered, thanks to this playful, upbeat atmosphere. Certain chefs could give masterclasses in shaping roti. No rolling pin or board is needed. They simply pinch off a bit of dough and, with a couple of motions between their palms, fashion a flawless round. Each gesture seems effortless and instinctive. Then these paper-thin breads land on a hot surface, taking on a golden tone but staying fluffy inside. Witnessing that technique makes you believe in the magic of cooking. There is someone who, in mere moments, can slice an enormous watermelon into immaculate pizza wedges. First, the watermelon is halved. Then, with a few confident strokes of the knife, out come neat triangular segments just like the slices of a genuine pizza. Only these are juicy and refreshing. Observing that speed and exactness is a thrill, and it is an ideal way to treat a sizable group on a blazing summer day. Which of these experiences would you love to try? And what would you never attempt under any circumstances? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to Topfacts for the most jaw-dropping compilations of facts and clips from around the web. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and click on one of our earlier episodes right this moment.